You are about to enter Habs After Dark with Recliner Sports.
3, 2, 1, 0.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to Habs After Dark. Not so dark today. Afternoon Sunday game. Montreal Canadiens and the Florida Panthers. And the Canadiens come out of it with another victory against the Stanley Cup defending champions, Panthers. Tonight, a 4-2 victory for your Montreal Canadiens over the Panthers. Good game. I don't know that I would say that it was the best performance I've ever seen from the Canadiens, but a win is a win, and that's the most important thing. And that's what they got tonight. And I think we can all be happy with the victory to end off this, what was a pretty difficult road trip, I guess we could call it. The Canadiens seem to play well against the former Stanley Cup champions. I apologize. I got a little bit of a new setup here today, guys, and I don't have it perfected. And I know this camera angle isn't ideal, but it's the best I have available to me for today. So hopefully you enjoyed. So welcome to the show, guys. My name is Devin. This is Recliner Sports, and the show is Habs After Dark. If you're over on the TikTok, guys, come on over and join us on YT. If you're over here on YT, please come and check out the show here, guys. And if you're not yet following us, please subscribe. If you are inclined and enjoy the show, give us a thumbs up. If you're watching in a replay, you can do the same as well. Welcome, RDP. Welcome, Billy D. The volume is low. Okay. Let's see how I fix that. I don't know the best way to fix that. Is that any better, Billy D? Is it still quite low? Maybe I can go in here and fix it here. How about that? Is that better for you guys? How's that? Give me a thumbs up, guys. If it's not good, I can do a bit of a permanent fix. James Castanis, what a game. Yes, a very good game for the Canadiens tonight, or this afternoon. Again, I'm not sure that it was an amazing performance for them. Certainly the victory is the biggest thing, and that's what counts. But there's a lot more to it than that, I would say. Some of the underlying numbers weren't ideal. I think that, but again, you're playing against the best team in the league, and if you weather the storm against them, then that's half the battle. Let me see if I can fix. Sorry, guys. I'm going to see if I can fix some of the. Is that better, guys? How's that? We got a big win today against Florida. Hopefully it'll be another big win. Montreal Bell Center, back to back. Are you feeling better today, Antoine? You're feeling better about your Canadiens today, guys? Is that, again, guys, let me know how that, it's pretty low still. All right, well, I'm going to just get rid of that. And we'll go with that. Is that better now? How about that? Is that, I'm going just with my straight up, right off my MacBook volume. How's that? Is that still... That's got to be a little better. Same low. I know there's a bit of a delay for you guys in their comments, so I'll give you guys a couple seconds here to let me know if that's better. Hudson again, what a game! Absolutely, Jack. He's playing much better hockey since the Four Nations break. He's still incredible. He's still the front runner for the Rookie of the Year. He should be. They always find a way to pull us back in. Thoughts on Galley getting his stick ripped off? I thought the refereeing was horrendous in the third period, guys. I'd really like to comment about the the concept that these referees seem to have, that they don't want to call penalties late in games because they don't want to affect the outcome of the game. It's so stupid because it does affect it does impact the outcome of the game, right? Like, a team like Florida, when you're trailing by a goal in the end of the game, if you allow them to do things that are illegal and not call penalties against them, it gives them a better opportunity to get back in the game, right? So the idea that, by not calling a penalty in the latter stages or in the third period of an important game, that you're somehow removing yourself as a referee from affecting the game, you're doing the opposite. You're affecting it even more. And so, it's just such a stupid concept, and this idea that it's better for the game. It blows my mind that people don't get that, and that the referees are still on that, on that theory or on that, that mindset. And it's so, I mean, there were 4 or 5 penalties in the last. Again, Florida's playing desperate hockey, which, they're entitled to do and they ought to do. And the referee is certainly telling them that they can get away with all this stuff. And that's what they're doing. So, you can't blame Florida for it, but you got to call that stuff. I mean, Gallagher has a glorious scoring opportunity taken away from him in very, very evident and clear way. And the referees just, look the other way. They just look the other way. And it's, I don't know. I don't know what to do. I apologize for blowing your ears off, guys. Do I think Demidov will come and play for the club soon? Demidov will play for the Montreal Canadiens next year. I don't see any scenario where he plays for them this year. I don't believe that's a possibility. So I wouldn't get your hopes up that way. But again, I think we would expect to see him with the Montreal Canadiens in training camp in the fall. Welcome, RDP. Welcome to the show. What do I think about Jack-Eye sitting? Asked James Costanis. Somebody had to sit. I don't love it. I don't love the idea of Jack-Eye sitting. I don't think that Jack-Eye sitting is one of the factors that led them to win the game tonight. I don't think that this, that was one of the reasons why they appeared to play better. I think that, somebody had to sit out today. It was Jack-Eye. But again, I don't think this would be an indication to me personally that Jack-Eye was part of the reason why they didn't play well, and that him being out of the lineup is now a reason for him to be kept out of the lineup on a more long-term basis. I don't think that Struble had a particularly good game today. I don't think that Carrier had a particularly good game today. There were a number of the Canadiens defensemen who, didn't have their best games today. So, obviously Hudson and Savard were decent today, I guess, if we want to say that. Expected goals for percentage. Not very many of the defense were that great. Gooley and Hudson were probably the 2 best, which is, what you'd ideally like to see. Matheson played relatively well, but Carrier, Struble, and Savard were not amazing. So again, I don't know that Jack-Eye being out is the answer. I also didn't like the way that it looked an awful lot like the Panthers were taking some liberties out there with the Canadiens that they perhaps wouldn't otherwise. With Jack-Eye not in the lineup, they certainly were emboldened quite a bit physically on the ice, and I think Jack-Eye kind of slows that down a little bit when he's in the lineup. So that's kind of my thoughts on Jack-Eye being out of the lineup. Do I think they played well? Yeah, absolutely. But I don't know that Jack-Eye being out of the lineup was a major contributing factor to their play in that respect. So again, somebody mentioned on the TikTok during the game that on the TikTok live during the game that perhaps this was an indication that Jack-Eye should sit out more often or more regularly, and I don't draw that conclusion from today's game. I don't know if you guys agree with me on that or not, but I don't. That's not the conclusion I draw from this game. So, Billy D, we've played well against Florida all year. Absolutely. This is a team that seems to be a bit of a slump buster for the Canadiens, so it should be interesting. Canadiens, Leafs, and Bolts will make it. We'll see. There's it's going to be an interesting final 10 or 11 games of the season. So it will be fun to watch, and it will be interesting to see how things go. If the Canadiens play the way they're capable of, I think they're certainly a playoff team. But again, they've shown a level of inconsistency, and they've shown that they're also capable of playing some pretty mediocre hockey at the same time. So it'll be interesting to watch. It'll be interesting to watch between now and the end of the season. So I don't know what you guys think about that. So listen, guys, I appreciate everybody being here. I see there's 12 watching. If you're not yet subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. You can also hit the thumbs up. I've got a bit of a new setup going on here, which is not fully complete, which is why you have a bit of a weird camera angle. I'm going to try and work on that and see if I can find a better solution for it. It's not terrible, but it's not great. If you're over on TikTok, come join us on YT if you want to be a part of the show, if you want to, enjoy the entire experience of the show. Come on over and join us. All that good stuff. I see there's 12 people watching. If you're loving the show, guys, give us a thumbs up as well. So what do you guys think of the game today? I'm interested to hear your thoughts. We're also going to be working on maybe switching things up a little bit here and bringing some guests on the show. Maybe get Entertap on the show if he's interested to do some stuff with us. Maybe some others who might want to talk about the game. Maybe some of you guys, if you want to come on and ask some of your questions in person, maybe we can do that as well. I have to upgrade my eCam software in order to be able to do that, but I think I'm going to take that jump and make that move. I think that'll probably help us grow our community a little bit, which is, my ultimate goal is to get this, this group a little bit bigger and build it up so that we have a place where we can all get together and talk about the game afterwards. So, yeah, all that good stuff. So, if you have any questions, guys, if you're over here on YT, feel free to throw them at me in the comment section. And if you're over on TikTok, feel free to pose your questions over there. Same as if you're on Twitch, you can do that as well. Claude, a beauty of a game. Yeah, it was a fun game to watch, Claude, for sure. It was definitely a fun game to watch. I didn't love the stupid play at the end of the game by Mikkola. I didn't see what happened. Did somebody on the Canadiens take a shot on net at the end of the game? I didn't. What was it that got Mikkola so worked up? I didn't see what happened. I think maybe somebody on the Canadiens took a shot on goal at the very, very end of the game. And again, hockey players can be very, very sensitive about that, right? Hockey players, we like to talk about how tough they are physically. But when it comes to mentally, sometimes hockey players can be pretty soft when it comes to stuff like that. So, yeah. What's up, Nicolas? Bonjour. Yeah, it was a great game. It was fun to watch for sure. Hudson is a spectacular hockey player, guys. If anybody from other fan bases are talking to you and they're trying to downplay Lane Hudson, then, I wouldn't really engage with it too much because it's not really worth it. But at the same time, know inside your own heart and know for yourself that he's going to be a special one to watch. A big win today, huge 6 points and possibly more from Florida could be the reason we get in. Yeah. Again, you want to win every game possible, and here we are at the end of the season. They're playing meaningful games, and I think we're seeing a bit of an inconsistent performance from the Canadiens. We're trying to assess how they perform when it comes time, to play in these important pressure-filled games at the end of a season. But, games like tonight certainly show us that they're capable of it, right? That it's something that they're capable of doing, and hopefully they can start doing it on a more regular basis. He fired a slap shot down the ice with a sec. Oh, he fired. Okay, I got you, James. I gotcha. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's pretty. Again, I think that the Florida Panthers were willing to take a lot more liberties on the ice tonight in the absence of Arbor Jacki than they probably would have in other times. You'll be an eventual guest, just an insider. Okay, sounds good, RDP. Maybe we can work on that as well. Lane Hudson is the GOAT. Well, he's not the GOAT yet, but he certainly looks like he's going to be a pretty solid defenseman in the NHL. Go Sharks, we get the first pick in the draft. Yeah, should be interesting. Upset after the loss and shot the puck. Yes, I saw it. Yeah, I got you, Rain Man. Thank you for the Yeah, the Sharks should be an interesting team. I think the Sharks are rebuilding in the right way. I think they're doing a much better in their rebuild than a lot of the other teams. I think they're doing better job of rebuilding than, for example, Buffalo or Philadelphia or Chicago. Three teams that I think don't really understand how to rebuild. I mean, Buffalo and Philadelphia are a little bit different than Chicago, but certainly Buffalo is different. Those teams don't seem to get what it takes to rebuild, and it really, really baffles me that they don't understand why their team continues to fail. Like, I don't get why Chicago doesn't understand why they're failing. And I don't like, so Philadelphia, this baffles me, guys. Maybe we'll talk about this for a second and you guys can let me know your thoughts. That'll be fun. Rain Man will be at the Bell Center on Saturday. That'll be fun. This is what baffles me about Philadelphia, right? So if you guys remember, the day before he was fired, John Tortorella gave a press conference and he talked about him not being willing to learn or not able to learn or prepared to learn how to coach a team like the Philadelphia Flyers, right? And basically meaning that he's not ready to coach a team that's in a rebuilding phase. So my question is, why the hell did they hire him in the first place? What did he think he was getting into? Like what did the Philadelphia Flyers think was going on when they hired John Tortorella? Like, did they not communicate to him that the team was in a rebuilding phase and that they had a young team that was looking to build over a period of time, and that they were starting from the bottom and were trying to work their way up? Like, did they not communicate that with their head coach before they hired him? Like, what kind of talks did they have with him? Like, it's very clear that in Montreal, Marty St. Louis knew exactly what the situation was and what he was being brought in to do, right? He was being brought in to mentor and to teach a young group of hockey players and build towards, an eventual contender and a team that hopefully, 4 or 5 years down the road, 6 years down the road would be in Stanley Cup contention. Like, what kind of conversations did the Philadelphia Flyers have with John Tortorella that, 2.5+ years down the road, all of a sudden he came to a realization that the Flyers were in rebuild mode and that wasn't something that he was interested in being a part of? I don't get that lack of communication. It's the same way I don't get the lack of communication in Chicago, where, you hear Connor Bedard being interviewed and he's upset that the team continues to lose. Right? Like, why are you not communicating with the future of your franchise, the best player in your organization? Why are you not communicating to him that you're in rebuild mode and that, the team is going to struggle for 2 or 3 years before it, turns the corner and starts, moving, in an upwards way? Like, how does your best player and how does your the future, the so-called generational player, how does he not understand that? How has the GM and how has management not communicated to Connor Bedard exactly what the team plan is? Like, how does that not occur? I don't understand that. And it appears almost like the management in Chicago doesn't even understand that they're in a rebuild, right? They're going out there signing, aging free agents. They're leaving their young players in the minor. Like I don't understand that. Like, I don't understand why you're bringing in 35 and 36 and 37-year-olds and leaving your young future players down in your American Hockey League team. I don't understand what's going on in Chicago. So again, that's kind of a confusing thing to me when we talk about, a rebuild and the communication and sort of how holistic a rebuild is, that it's, throughout the entire organization. It's not just the roster. It's, it's about making sure you have the right coach. It's making sure you have the right GM. It's making sure that everybody's pulling in the right direction, right? We've heard Kent Hughes use that expression. And it seems like in those other organizations, they just don't seem to understand what they're doing. Suzuki, Hudson, Caulfield, I think you meant to say Claude, and Slav. Hudson, Suzuki, Slavkovsky, and Gouli. You've got 3 of 4 enter tap, and Claude, you've got it right. Tortorella was the reason the Flyers didn't make the playoffs last season because of his ridiculous antics. They lost their focus. 100%. 100%. He is the reason that they didn't get there. And again, I don't understand why any team that believes that it's in a rebuild mode would hire John Tortorella to be their hockey coach. I mean, I don't understand why any team would hire John Tortorella to be their coach, period. He's a horrible hockey coach. But beyond that, he's especially horrible when it comes to coaching young players and developing younger players. It makes no sense to have him at the helm of an organization like that. Guli, Slavkovsky, Suzuki, and Hudson, you have 3 of 4 PLW. I think there was more behind the scenes precipitating that comment by Torts. He also did say he had to better himself, and the failure was him. Yeah, there was a lot going on behind the scenes, and that's my whole point, right? Like, what is it that led John Tortorella, right? So there was things going on with some of the trades that they made at the deadline, and that they didn't, that they were sellers at the deadline, and that he somehow believed that they should be buyers, and that he thought that they could add guys that would help their team, and so on and so forth. And it just demonstrates to me that the lack of communication that was going on for him to not understand where the Philadelphia Flyers were in their development stage, or where they were in the whole scheme of things. Right? Like how are you not ready to coach? I'm not interested in coaching a young developing hockey team. Like it just shows me how poorly managed that organization is right now. Yeah, you guys are both 3 for 4 PLW and Entertap. Plan or not, a top young kid doesn't want to lose ever. It's the way they. Well, it's again. I agree with you, and you don't want them to learn how to lose, Gary. But you do want them to understand what the plan is. You want them to understand what the vision is, right? The guys on the Montreal Canadiens don't want to lose either, but they also understand what the organization is doing, and that there's a long-term plan for them to build and to grow, right? So there's 2 aspects that you obviously don't want your players going out there, without anything other than a desire to win, and you certainly want them to win. But when they're coming out in the media and saying, "I'm sick and tired of this and that and the other thing," it's clear that they don't understand. Like, a rebuild, you're going to lose, right? The whole idea behind a rebuild is that you're going to lose for a while, and you're going to get some high draft picks, right? But again, in Chicago, they don't seem to understand that. They're out there signing 35 and 36-year-olds, and they're talking publicly in the media, that the management is talking publicly in the media about, bringing in guys who will help us win now. And it makes no sense. And it sends the wrong message to your team, and it sends a confusing message to the players. And they need to understand what's going on. What do we think about the Leafs game tonight? I haven't thought about it at all, Miguel. I haven't even given it the first thought. I don't even know who they're playing, if I'm being completely honest. Who are they playing? They're playing the Ducks. I have no clue. Torts was a bad pick for a rebuilding team. Torts is effective when he has more established players already there. His system is effective but requires buy-in and sacrificing defensively. Again, I think you and I disagree on this, Entertap. I agree with you that he's perhaps more effective, but he's not an effective coach. His successes in the NHL have been vastly overblown. He hasn't been a successful coach in the NHL for the better part of 15 years. His successes in his early days were largely due to the players that he inherited from somebody else, an inheritance that he tried to ruin with his personality and his need to be the boss and to be in charge. He almost screwed that up. He wanted to get rid of Vincent Lecavalier. He's failed for the most part throughout his entire career. He's either missed the playoffs or lost in the first round in 17 of 25 seasons in the league. And he's done absolutely nothing in the NHL for a number of years. So, do I think he might be a guy you could bring in and on a team that's sort of on the very verge of winning a cup and maybe push them over the top with a little bit of discipline and sort things out? Yeah, maybe. But again, not even that really. I honestly don't see it. His day has passed. He's a dinosaur. His style of coaching does not apply to the NHL anymore. You don't succeed in the NHL by acting the way John Tortorella does anymore. You don't succeed in the NHL by standing in front of a bunch of reporters and cameras and calling your players stupid, calling them names. You don't you don't succeed in the NHL these days by benching players and putting in the press box and then refusing to talk to them and refusing to tell them why they're being benched. You don't succeed in the NHL that way. I don't care what anybody says. You can tell me all you want about his history and that he won a Stanley Cup. I don't care. That doesn't work in the NHL. And I, for one, am thankful that the Montreal Canadiens had the foresight to hire a coach who coaches in the exact opposite manner that John Tortorella does, right? A coach who communicates with his players, who has, a level of emotional intelligence, who understands, what it's like to be a player, and understands how to properly motivate players and how to get the best out of his players, right? And that John Tortorella doesn't understand. I don't care what anybody says. You're never going to convince me otherwise. He does. He's not a tactician. I mean, I know people like to talk about his defensive systems and whatever. They haven't worked. They don't work. So I'm going to agree with. I'm going to just have to agree to disagree. I don't see a place for John Tortorella in the NHL in any scenario anymore. He's not a good hockey coach, and frankly, I don't know that he ever was. What's going on, Shreds? What's going on, guys, on TikTok? Come on over to YT, guys, if you want to jump in on the show. I appreciate we're talking about John Tortorella right now. We're talking about coaching styles. So if you have any comments on that, guys, fire away. I see we got 10 people watching right now. Let's go to the scoreboard, guys, and see. Again, I apologize a little bit for the camera angles here today, guys. I got a different setup going on, and I am working on it. So there's your scoreboard for today, guys. Of course, the Canadiens win 4-2. Over the Panthers. A pretty basic game. I don't think it was the best game the Canadiens have played all year, but I certainly think they showed up and they, answered the bell to an extent after the, the last few games where they certainly have struggled. I think you see there from some of the underlying numbers that it wasn't, ideal. But again, it's the Stanley Cup champions, and a win is a win. And I thought they performed well enough to win, of course, and certainly a better performance than they had on Friday night and on Thursday. So the Canadiens opened the scoring on a power play goal from Patrick Laine from his usual spot. His 19th of the season from Lane Hutson, of course, his 52nd assist of the year, and Nick Suzuki his 53rd assist of the year. Reinhart then tied it up very shortly after. A little over a minute later, he scored his 36th goal of the season from Barkov and Verhaeghe. So the score was 1-1 after the first period. Probably a period where the Panthers were the better team, but the Canadiens certainly held their own. They come out midway through the second period. Juraj Slafkovsky scores on the power play, again assisted by Suzuki and Hutson. Again, Slafkovsky's trying a cross-crease pass, and it deflects into the goal behind Bobrovsky. About 5 minutes later, Florida ties it back up. Seth Jones with a goal from Barkov and Rodriguez. So it's 2-2. Again, it's all even up. A better period for the Canadiens in the second, I would say. I don't know if you guys agree with me. I thought they played a little bit better in the second. The third period, I think, was certainly the best of the three periods. The Canadiens score 2 goals in that period and allow none. Nick Suzuki scores his 23rd from Hutson and Slafkovsky. So that's Hudson's 54th assist of the year. He's closing in on that 60-point number, which is a bit of a golden number when it comes to rookie defensemen. Slafkovsky obviously had a great game today too with 2 points. Could have had a goal too. They had an open net on a goal where he just wasn't able to finish. And then Brendan Gallagher scores his 18th of the year on an empty net from Dvorak. Dvorak blocks a shot. Florida had some possession in the Canadian zone, and with their goalie pulled 6-on-5, and Dvorak blocks the shot. It goes to Gallagher, and Gallagher shoots the puck from his own blue line all the way down into the empty Florida net, and that was the clincher 4-2. I will comment again briefly. I did earlier, but I'm not going to comment too much because I've already done. The refereeing in the third period was horrendous. Again, the idea that you're trying to get out of the way and not affect the result of the game by by not calling penalties, in a third period like that, you are affecting the game, right? The Panthers are desperate to score a goal. They're down by a goal. They're clutching and grabbing. They're doing whatever it takes. And the fact that you're not calling a penalty on them or penalties on them, again, gives them an advantage that is unfair and definitely impacts the game. And so, Gallagher, I guess the most glaring one was Gallagher, having his stick held, when he had, a really nice scoring chance from the high slot and would have had a good chance to score. But of course he didn't because the Florida Panther player just ripped his stick out of his hands. There was another play where a similar situation where a Florida player grabbed Josh Anderson's stick. There was some holding and grabbing that would have been called probably at another part of the game. But again, this idea, this concept that NHL referees have that they don't want to affect the game by calling penalties late in a close game is just it's a ridiculous concept, and it's I don't like it. I don't like it. A huge Corsi difference. I didn't see the game that way. I guess Habs still having very much. Again, yeah. Sometimes the underlying numbers are difficult to explain, PLW, but the Corsi and the Fenwick numbers are kind of weird, especially the Corsi. I didn't particularly see it that way, but again, when you look at the high danger scoring chances and the expected goals, those are probably a little bit more in line with what you'd expect to see based on the eye test of that game. The volume is low again. Is the volume low again, guys? I don't know what to do to fix that if that's the case, guys. I don't know what to do to fix that if the volume is low right now. I don't know how to help you with that. Yeah. So again, like just to piggyback on PLW's comments here, we see the shots on goal were 26-22 for Florida. Florida was leading by a wider margin earlier in the game, but the Canadiens kind of came back in that third period and made it a little bit closer as far as shots on goal are concerned. The Corsi was heavily in favor of the Panthers, as was the Fenwick. High danger scoring chances were pretty even, and the Canadiens were 3.17 to 2.66 on the expected goals. So that's that's the story of the game, I guess. Again, it wasn't a game to me that looked like the Canadiens were back to their top form, but it certainly was an improvement on their last few games. If Corsi Fenwick is so lopsided in Florida favor, how can Montreal have a higher expected goals for? Well, the Corsi and the Fenwick is basically shots directed towards the goal, enter tap. So again, perhaps it's an indication that the quality of their shots or their quality of their attempts towards the goal were not on the same level as the Canadiens. Right, so Corsi is basically any shot directed at the net, whether it hits the net, whether it's blocked, whether it's misses the net, anything like that. That's a Corsi. So perhaps it's an indication that Florida was just throwing pucks towards the net, whereas Montreal was getting more high level chances on goal. And the expected goals, of course, is depending on whose model you're using. It takes into all kinds of different things. It takes into account, where the shot came from, what the angle was, what the speed was, all that kind of stuff. I don't believe that Natural Stat Tricks model takes into account any of the pre-shot. Where did the pass come from? Was it a one-timer? Was there, I think that some of the better models for expected goals will look at things like, where did the pass come from? How long did it take? Was it a one-timer? All that kind of stuff. Did you force the goalie to move, like that kind of stuff? And that's actually a really interesting concept of hockey. It's something that I think about all the time when I watch Lane Hudson play. He has a very keen understanding of what makes it difficult for goaltenders to make saves. If you notice him, he's very big on change of direction and misdirection. Making passes across, that sort of that golden line across down the center of the ice. If you can make a pass across that golden line, you increase your chance of scoring, right? Because you're forcing the goaltender to shift, to move positions. You're not allowing him to see the puck. You're not allowing him to set up. You're forcing him to make the save on the move, which increases your chance to score. And so you watch a guy like Lane Hutson. It's what really stands out to me as far as his hockey intelligence, his hockey IQ goes, is his ability to understand how that affects not just the goaltender, but the defenseman too, right? Changing the look, even on your shot, right? You look at, a guy like Austin Matthews, toe drag release, right? Toe drag release forces the goalie to adjust to where, the puck is, to where the shot actually comes from. You're not just shooting the puck, you're pulling it into your body and then shooting it. You're changing the angle and you're changing, the view or the sight lines of the goalie. And so, some of the better expected goals models take all of that into consideration. Natural Stat Trick doesn't do that. It's a free model, and I don't think it has access to all of that data. Whereas some of the paid models that the NHL teams have access to are a little more robust and have a little bit more data that they get from the NHL and all that, right? Shot volume of the Habs. Yeah, the Canadiens, I think, do need to work on their shot volume. I think that's one of their things to work on. Not just their shot volume, but also making sure that they hit the net, right? Treating scoring opportunities more preciously, and understanding that those opportunities don't come all the time, and that you need to really, really bear down sometimes when you get a good scoring chance. There's a lot of time. We see the Canadiens get glorious scoring chances and miss the net a whole lot, and it's something that I think they probably could use a little bit of work on. Again, another aspect of Lane Hutson's game, which I think is super advanced, right? You rarely see him miss the net. Even if it means he's just throwing the puck towards the net, he understands how valuable getting the puck to the front of the net is. You rarely see him miss the goal. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen very often at all. So that's your scoreboard for today, guys. Of course, the final score is Canadiens 4 and the Panthers 2. These two teams will play again on Tuesday for the final time this season. I believe the Canadiens are now 3-0 against the Panthers this year. Somebody will correct me if I'm incorrect on that, which of course is entirely possible. You can shut that door if you want. I just forgot. So there's your scoreboard, guys. 4-2. Canadiens over the Panthers. I don't know if the standings have been updated on the NHL website just yet. So they currently sit with 77 points. They're in the second wild card spot. They're tied in points with the Rangers, but they have a game in hand. They are 2 points ahead of the Blue Jackets, and the Blue Jackets have a game in hand. They are 3 points ahead of the Islanders, and the Islanders have a game in hand. They are 3 points ahead of the Red Wings, and the Red Wings have the same number of games played. So it should be interesting down the road. The Canadiens, unfortunately, their goal differential has slipped significantly in the last couple of weeks or week and a half. They're back down to minus 26, which is not ideal. But that's kind of where things stand as far as the current standings are concerned. So oh, you meant shot volume, PLW. I got you. All good, man. I was having trouble with the volume of my microphones earlier, so it kind of threw me for a loop when you said volume. Good adjustment for Marty St. Louis to give greater time on ice today to Hutson and Carrier rather than Matheson. 22 minutes is more manageable for Matheson. Yeah, I guess so. I didn't... what was the... So Matheson finished with... Matheson with 23 minutes today. Carrier with almost 25. And Hutson with 23 and a half. So, Yeah, Matheson 22-42, Hudson 23-31, and Carrier 24-42, Gooley 21-18. So I think having Gooley in the lineup helps as well. I think Gooley, is a guy who can play those kind of minutes, and having a fourth defenseman that can play those kind of minutes, I think allows you to take some of the minutes away from a Mike Matheson. Again, there was only 2 penalty kills today in this game, right? I think the Canadiens only had to kill 2 penalties today. So again, that will, the number of penalty kills will always have an impact on Mike Matheson's ice time as well, right? So just the 2 penalties to kill tonight. So Marty St. Louis doesn't do the in-game D-men changes. It's Robida who makes them. Okay, I don't know how that works precisely. I don't know how that interchange works. I'm sure that Marty St. Louis has some level of input there, but big difference tonight is that Suzuki line was more often on the ice, along with Hudson and Gooley. Okay, yeah. Again, I mean, it's always nice when those guys are out there. I think Hudson was out there a lot tonight, as was the first line. The first line again. I think the first line always does better when they don't have a juggernaut offensive player to have to try and shut down. I mean, obviously Barkov is a good player, but he's not like on the level of the the McKinnons, and even last night, having to shut down some of the guys that not last night, on Friday night, some of the guys they had to shut down on Carolina. Tonight, I think they were able to play a little bit more of their defensive game. Thank you, Adam. Appreciate it. What's up, Persinger? Marty St. Louis said, have fun with the games left. I felt he was talking to us fans too. Yeah, absolutely, Gary. So, I mean, here, just, if we want to take a bit of a big picture look of all of this, right? A global view on all this. Like, this is meaningful games, right? This is what they've been talking about. This is what they wanted to do this year. This is what they were hoping for. This is their ideal situation. The Montreal Canadiens wanted to be playing meaningful games at the end of the year, and now they are. Right, and so the meaningful games were not about making the playoffs, right? They didn't want to be playing meaningful games because it meant they would have a chance to make the playoffs. They wanted to play meaningful games because they wanted this young group to have the experience of playing games that matter at the end of a season, right? And they wanted them to do that for a couple of reasons. They wanted them to get the experience of doing that. And they also wanted to get the opportunity to assess these players and see how they performed under that kind of circumstance. How do they perform under pressure? How do they perform when games matter at the end of a season? How do they perform when the pressure is on? Right? And so this is what we're seeing, right? And so this is, management is watching all of this, and management is taking notes, and management is going to use this information to decide who goes where, and who they trade, and who they stick with, and who, gets called up. And they're doing the same thing in Laval, right? They're watching them in Laval, and they're seeing them play meaningful games at the end of a season, and they're assessing them. This is they've talked about this is the assessment period, or the assessment phase of the rebuild. And this is what's happening right now. And so they're assessing these guys, not just about how they play on the ice, and how do they deal with the pressure? Like, do they play well when they're 1 point out of a playoff spot and have to win a game? Do they not play well? And I think as of now, with 10 games left in the season, or 9 games left in the season, I think the assessment is mixed, right? I think some players have played better than others as far as the pressure situations. As a team, I think they've shown glimpses of being really, really good under pressure, and they've shown glimpses of not being very good under pressure, right? They've shown, they've proven to be quite immature at times, and they've shown maturity at other times, right? So, I think the last few games they showed, a level of immaturity, and I think, for the first 7 or 8 or 9, 10 games coming out of the Four Nations break, they certainly showed a ton of maturity. So, today I think they showed some maturity, that they were able to dig themselves out of a bit of a slump and respond in a way, again, in a game that matters, respond in a way that, didn't just sort of continue the tough sledding that they've been having lately, right? They didn't just sort of continue to roll on or roll into the struggles that they've been having. They did something, they changed something, they were able to bring their game around. So yeah, these are all things that I think they're assessing right now. So again, I know that as fans and even as players, you want the players, you want them to make the playoffs, and you're kind of living and dying by whether or not they're going to make the playoffs. But at the end of the day, the reason they wanted to be playing meaningful games was so that we would be able to get this experience, that they would be able to get this experience, and that the management would be able to get some level of assessment, to get some level of, where are these guys? What kind of players are these guys going to be? What what is their career going to look like? Are they guys who show up when the pressure's on and when the biggest moments, like we're seeing from Lane Hudson, right? We're seeing, Lane Hudson as a guy who shows up when the game is on the line and when it's really important games, he's able to perform, right? He doesn't disappear. He doesn't, fade into the background. We're seeing a little bit that some of the guys in the bottom six roles are kind of melting away a little bit, right? They're not playing the way they did earlier in the season. Like that fourth line. I mean, Armia obviously is injured, and he's playing through an injury. But, Jake Evans is perhaps not the same guy he was earlier in the year when the games weren't as important. The games are important now, and he's not doing the same kind of. Emil Heineman, right? Not playing, although he had a decent game tonight or today. We're not seeing that same level of turning things up when the games are the most important. So it helps that line to generate more offense versus being matched up along with Savard and Xhekaj, which was often the case versus Philly. Well, they're going to play a lot of minutes, and they're going to be partnered up with a lot of different defensemen, and I think it certainly depends on where the game is and who they're playing against, right? They're going to be paired up with Savard and Xhekaj, sometimes when it's a situation where they're being called upon to shut down opposing players, as opposed to if they're being called upon to go and create offense. So no show after the game on Friday. I felt stood up. I apologize, Billy D. I needed a break, and I was out. I was out on Friday night, and I didn't get a chance. I perhaps should have given you guys some notice about it. But Bruno, what do I think about the Flyers firing Torts? Michkov is playing better. Yeah, I mean, again, entirely predictable, right? I would imagine that if you fed Matvei Michkov some truth serum and asked him, how he liked playing with John Tortorella, I think he would tell you he didn't really enjoy it that much. I think most players would probably tell you that if they could do so anonymously and so on. Like, I know people make a lot out of, oh, well, the players always talk really nicely about John. Well, that's what hockey players do, right? They typically don't come out and talk negatively about their coaches, especially, after the fact. They're not, Marty St. Louis, yeah, of course he's going to say that he, learned a lot. And I'm sure he did learn a lot from John Tortorella. But, it doesn't mean that he thinks John Tortorella is a good coach. He's going to, he's not going to come out and say that John Tortorella is a bad coach. But, I mean, I think we can certainly see from the way that Marty St. Louis coaches that he didn't take a lot of John Tortorella's coaching style and incorporate it into his own, right? There's not many aspects of the way that Marty St. Louis coaches that he borrowed or gathered from his time around John Tortorella. My thoughts on Xhekaj not playing today. I didn't love it. I thought, obviously the result was okay. No problem. Prepare to be horrified. Yeah, I didn't love it. I thought that Florida certainly was a lot more brave out on the ice today than they would have been if Arber Xhekaj was in the lineup. Again, obviously the result speaks for itself. They won without him. I don't think that's an indication that, he's the reason why they didn't play well, or that, having him out of the lineup is the answer or anything like that. I don't think that's necessarily the case. But somebody has to come out of the lineup. And, there's not really anybody who deserves to come out of the lineup. I don't think that Savard or Carrier or Struble played particularly well today. I mean, Struble probably played his least good game or worst game in a long time, and I think that probably had a lot to do with him, being taken off of, he wasn't out there with Lane Hudson as often or even often at all. So I don't think Carrier is going to come out of the lineup. I think it's either going to be, Jacky, Struble, or Savard. I think those are the three that are potentially out of the lineup. I don't know which one. I don't know what order it would be in. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I'd say that he's struggled a few. I mean, Carrier. I think Carrier getting back with Gouli will be helpful. But we'll see. We'll see. I mean, obviously, everyone's not going to play great games every day. I think that, with things getting mixed up a little bit on the defense and the pairings getting shifted around a little bit, I think you'll probably see the guys, will need some time to sort of adjust to their new partners. And, sometimes, it's not always easy to just sort of get thrown around like that. Friday they played, with 7 defensemen. That probably wasn't ideal. But, give it a few games. There's 9 games left. We shall see. We shall see. All right, gang, let's have a look at our A team. I know we had some guesses. We had one correct guess, and we had a couple of close ones. So tonight, for me, guys, the A team or this afternoon, I guess, Lane Hudson, Nick Suzuki, Cole Caulfield, Uri Slafkovsky. That's a bit of a chalk or a simple, easy pick. I mean, you pick your entire first line and your top defenseman. But, today I think that was definitely the case. Hudson, again, with another great game, not just offensively. Everyone keeps talking about his offense, but his defense has been pretty special of late as well. Tonight, his expected goals, or this afternoon, his expected goals for percentage was a little over 75%. He was on the ice for 15 scoring chances for and 11 against. He was on the ice for 10 high danger chances for and just 5 against. And of course, the 3 assists, of course, were a big contributor to the win. When you win 4-2 and you get 3 assists, you've played a big part. What's up, Stan the man? The Habs have 6 home and 3 away games left. They have to win at least 5 home and 1 away. Is this too much for them to achieve? Well, I don't know about your numbers. I don't know that they have to do anything. They control their own destiny, essentially, at this stage. They just have to win more games than the teams below them. And so, again, I'm not going to put a number on what they need to win. Again, the other teams below them don't seem to be wanting to grab the mantle anytime they falter. So, that's been helpful. Intertap says Florida, Toronto, Ottawa, Carolina, Chicago, Nashville, Philadelphia, Boston, Detroit. Florida, obviously, despite the fact that the Canadiens are 3-0 against them so far this year, it's going to be a tough one. Toronto will be a tough one. Ottawa, I think they have a chance to win. Again, it'll be tough because Ottawa will be playing, playoff-style hockey. Carolina will be tough. Chicago, they should win Chicago. They should win Nashville. They should win Boston, and they should win Detroit. Philadelphia, again, they should win. But again, we've seen them lose games they should win, and we've seen them win games that they probably shouldn't win. So it's hard to say. So just getting back to the A-team, guys. Hudson, of course, with the 3 points, had a great game. Nick Suzuki, his expected goals percentage today, 82%. Each of the 3 guys on the first line, right? So Suzuki's 82.75%, Slafkovsky's 83.72%, and Caulfield is almost 88% expected goals for percentage. Caulfield's on the ice for 8 high danger chances and only 1 against. Suzuki's on the ice for 8 high danger scoring chances for and only 3 against. And Slavkovsky's on the ice for 7 high danger chances for and only 2 against. So the first line, again, dominant in every aspect. They played big numbers, big minutes. They all, 15-34 for Caulfield, 15-55 for Slavkovsky, and 18-10 for Suzuki. Suzuki, of course, stepping in to help out on the penalty kill and getting that additional time on the power play. Again, the first line did what the first line needs to do, right? They were the driver of the offense, and they also held their own and stood up to the Panthers' best players defensively. Carrier is a 5th or 6th defenseman playing primary minutes. It will catch him back on the long run. Yeah, I think you were probably right on a Stanley Cup contender. He's probably a third pairing defenseman. Carrier's done everything you could possibly want him to do for this team, right? And it's not just about what he's done on the ice. It's what he's allowed the other guys to do. He's made the rest of the team better by allowing them to play in their proper positions and their proper roles and their proper chairs, to use Marty St. Louis' terminology. He's a right-handed defenseman. Obviously, was something the Canadiens desperately needed as well. That has helped. It's allowed Gouli to move back to his stronger side. I don't think that I'm going to panic over Carrier, having a bit of a tough game. I don't think there's any need to panic. I don't think that's not something I'm necessarily prone to do, and I think you guys should probably try it because it's makes you feel a lot better. Thanks for keeping us first in the division. So we're getting lots of Toronto Maple Leafs fans on TikTok, guys, who are thanking the Canadiens for allowing them to qualify for the playoffs and doing the Toronto Maple Leafs a favor. To that, I say you're welcome. I mean, whatever. It is what it is. Again, I hope the Toronto Maple Leafs do well. I have nothing against them. Obviously, if the Canadiens are playing them, I want the Canadiens to beat the shit out of them. But I don't have any particular issue with the Maple Leafs fans, or the Maple Leafs. The Maple Leafs fans, I don't always like, but I don't have a problem with the Maple Leafs. So, yeah. Basically, these are the players that will make you win. Well, I mean, you need everybody to make you win, PLW. But again, your first line guys are your first line guys for a reason. They're your most important players, and you need them to show up. I actually like Lainez's game today. Often would go back covering his D-man pitch. Lainez played good hockey since the break, guys. The suggestion that Lainez doesn't try or that he's not working hard or whatever is again, it's something that I think is crazy. He's trying out there, and it doesn't always work for him. His confidence isn't always the greatest, but I think right now he's feeling pretty good about playing hockey, and it's showing up on the ice. And he certainly looks a lot better. But again, he's playing good hockey. He's a good hockey player, and he is a very valuable member of the Canadiens team. And, they're better with him than they are without him. That's for sure. Yes, absolutely, PLW. Laine is a good hockey player, guys. Again. Right now, Hudson has been playing his best hockey, and he's been doing it on the right side. You're absolutely correct. Do I see him staying on his offside for a while and on a long term? I think what Lane Hudson is showing us is that he's perfectly capable of doing it on either side, right? His game doesn't seem to, go up or down or get better or worse depending on what side he's on. Like, he plays well regardless. He plays well on either side, and I think that that's a great skill to have, and it's a great asset for the Canadiens to have, especially now that their numbers are a little bit imbalanced as far as righties and lefties are concerned, right? So it's, I think it's a great thing for them to have, that they can play him on either side. He can play, he appears to be able to play with just about anybody on the team, right? He doesn't need to have a certain guy, paired with him so that he can play with anybody, right? Like we saw at the beginning of the year, they were pairing him with Savard because they were trying to insulate him a little bit defensively. And then, they obviously tried to play him with Matheson, and, that kind of worked, and people were concerned, well, they're two offensive guys, and it's kind of tough to have two offensive, anybody was able to make that work. And then they put him out there with Jaden Struble, who, was, grossly inexperienced and, maybe not. And, not only did he play great with Jaden Struble, he also made Jaden Struble play a lot better. So I think what Lane Hudson is proving to everybody is that he's the real deal. He's capable of doing, a lot of things on the ice. He's capable of doing it in, basically any situation, whether it's, on the left-hand side, the right-hand side, whether he's playing with, another offensive defenseman or whether he's playing with a defensive defenseman. He's able to do all of these things regardless of the situation. He's going to go out and put his best foot forward, and for the most part, he's going to be able to succeed. And I think that's one of the biggest assets that Lane Hudson brings to the situation. A cheap move by Mikola, whatever his name is, Mikolas. At the end of the game, yeah, I didn't see all of it, to be fair, but again, the one thing I will say about Arbor Jackeye being out of the lineup today is I thought that the Panthers took a lot of liberties tonight that they probably wouldn't have been as eager to take if Jackeye were in the lineup. As a Leafs fan, you hope the Canadiens make the playoffs. Well, thank you, Henry. I appreciate that. I also hope that the Leafs make the playoffs, and I hope that they do well in the playoffs unless they play the Montreal Canadiens. Reinbacher is also killing it in Laval. Hudson, Reinbacher, and Carrier on the right side, and then on the left, Gooley, Matheson, and Struble. Jackeye, it looks good on the long run. Yeah, I mean, Reinbacher obviously is still not 100% sure what's going on with his health. I'd like to know a little bit more about that, to be honest with you. I'm not sure that we're getting the full story there, which is fine, but hopefully, he gets back on track. We also have, the Canadiens also have, Logan Mailloux is a right-handed defenseman as well. So imagine how good Lane Hudson is going to be once he finishes puberty. Okay, yeah. I haven't really thought too much about his puberty, Morgan, but he does look very young, doesn't he? He does look like a young man. He's 20, I believe he's almost 21 years old, so he's not quite as young as he looks. But you're right, he is a young man, and he does have a lot of life in front of him and a lot of growing to do physically and as a hockey player. So, I look forward to seeing how he matures and how he evolves. He is 21 years old. He turned 21 on the 14th of February. But yeah, he'll be fun to watch. He's a spectacular hockey player, guys. And I know, obviously there are people who are going to say that that's a Montreal Canadiens fan being biased, but it's just, at every turn he continues to demonstrate that he's the real deal and he's a really good hockey player. So. Yeah. Anyways, guys, I think I'm going to call it quits for tonight, for today. Guys, I do appreciate you guys. There's 12 of you currently watching. If you're not yet subscribed, guys, I would ask that you do so. The button is just down below here. We are trying to grow a community where people can come and talk about the Montreal Canadiens. We do a show called Habs After Dark, which is this show, which we do after every Habs game. So it's a place for you to come and talk about the game. Talk about the league, the sport, the hockey, anything you want to talk about, guys. You can come by after the game and talk about it here. Right now, we're live on YT. We're also live on Twitch. We will be live on Instagram, IG. I'm trying to figure that out. I'm having some complications with getting that working, but I will get to the bottom of it and get it sorted out. We're also on TikTok, guys. You can join us, like I said, on any of those platforms. YT is always going to be the main spot. It's going to be the default platform. So if you do want to enjoy the show and get in the comments or whatever, that's probably your best option to head over to YT. But certainly if you have questions and want to be a part of it, we're trying to grow the community on all platforms. So like I said, if you're not subscribed on YT, or if you're not following on IG or on Twitch, please do so. Again, the more people we get, the better. And obviously on YT, there's a lot of different things that we can do with the platform once we get to 500 subscribers, which is a little bit off for now. We are going to work on doing some other stuff as far as getting guests and stuff on the show coming up down the road, and hopefully you guys will enjoy that as well. So if you're not subscribed, please do so. Help us grow the community, and we're certainly we're certainly working to give you guys a spot. I enjoy it too, so don't get me wrong. This is not a perfectly selfless thing for me. I enjoy talking with you guys as well. No worries, Entertap. I'm going to try and see if I can get you on online here too, Entertap, and maybe have you join the show here if you're up for it or you're interested. So maybe we'll do that. On another note, you should be looking into these torpedo-shaped baseball bats. Yankees hit 9 homers. I have heard about that, PLW, and I'll have a look at it and I'll let you know what I think. But that's it for today, guys. Thanks so much for coming by. Like I said, if you haven't hit the thumbs up, please do so. If you're watching in a replay, if you're watching after the fact, I do get that not everybody can join live. Please give us a thumbs up. Please hit the subscribe button, all that good stuff. IG, Twitch, TikTok, follow, all that stuff. Help us grow our recliner sports community. We are doing this for everybody, and I do love being able to talk to you guys, and hopefully we can create a place for everybody to have intelligent, objective, rational, civil, intelligent conversation about hockey, about the NHL, and about our favorite team, the Montreal Canadiens. So that's it for tonight, guys, or this afternoon. I hope you guys enjoyed. I certainly did, and thank you very much for your contributions and your comments, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace out.
To Hoffman, Monahan parked in front, Doc to Caulfield, fires, scores!
You are about to enter Habs After Dark